Welcome Legionnaires and fellow Lord of the Rings fans to another video, and today we have a very different sort of video for you. Today we have a bit of a rankings video. We have a top 5 best factions for siege battles in Dawnless Days Total War. And this is an entirely, like my opinion sort of video. I'm sure many of you out there that play the mod more than me, that are veterans of this mod, this brilliant mod for Total War, do have different opinions on what you have your rankings, whether you'd have the same factions as me or a different order. I'm sure you can discuss it in the in the comments, or what you think should be in there or what should be removed from my top 5. But I've kind of obviously gone with my opinion on what I see in replays and stuff like that, and what I've played with myself when playing battles. And this is what I've gone for in my top 5. This vid obviously is going to be just on base mods, because if we did sub mods we would be here forever. There are so many sub mods out there which add so many different factions, which is brilliant, but we are just going to focus on the base mod factions. In the future maybe we could cover sub mods, but yeah, this is going to be a bit of a series now. I'm going to try and do some top 5 sort of videos for different things. So we're going to start with sieges, and we're going to do top 5 sieges. Both offense and defense will be taken into sort of the rankings, so it's not going to just be on attack and then another video on defense. I'm going to try and mix the two together and try and get the best out of both worlds. So there will be some factions that you may think would get in there, but actually are pretty terrible on defense, and then there are some factions that you might think they're pretty good on defense but won't get in because they can't push at all. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're around here, and let's get into this video with our first faction. And at number 5 we have Mordor. Mordor, a pretty major faction in the Dawnless Days mod. Obviously it's kind of written about the rise of Sauron, but Mordor in my opinion comes in at number 5 in the siege faction sort of rankings, as it's a pretty weak faction when it comes to defense. Offense wise it is pretty strong, with units such as trolls and strong polearms as guards the teeth, which are like a perfect example of that, and it can rely heavily on mass in its siege battles, which it needs very much so, as its units are quite weak. Units such as the Orc Warriors and Uruk Throng are pretty weak compared to some of the other races' infantry, and they rely very much so on their numbers rather than their quality, which is again another reason for why they come in number 5. They rely more on quantity rather than quality, which is a major setback for them when it comes to facing off against some other stronger factions, such as elves and dwarves can often rack up hundreds of kills against these units, and it is a bit of a problem for them. However though, with the recent update including missile block, such as going down for archers and various other units, Orc Bow Rabble has gone from being the worst unit in the game to being one of the best units around now, with a unit that is the size of 2 normal units. It's 300 orcs in it, and it allows you now to bring in a normal game about 4 units, which is 12,000 bows firing all at once simultaneously on one target. You can whittle down an enemy in no time at all. So for this reason, Mordor makes it into the top 5 with strong bows and other terrible units, like great units but terrible for the enemy, like trolls and good polearms, units that can break through really well. And I mean, even like, though the mass is a problem, it means that you're going to have to burn through a lot of ammunition if you want to kill Mordor off. So for that reason, Mordor gets into my top 5. At number 4 we have Gondor. So Gondor I put above Mordor. I found this a pretty tough decision to make actually for the two. I had them the other way around to start with, and then I did change my mind when I thought, well, it is on attack and defense, and I think Gondor is a bit more versatile when it comes to defense than Mordor is, as I think they have solid infantry like their Gondor sword infantry and Gondor spears will hold the line for a really long time. Even their lower tier infantry like the Ringlow Vale men at arms, you can put in the front lines and you can hope that they will hold for a little while, and they will do that job for you. And certainly on the walls, Gondor infantry will excel against Mordor's. If you put those two, if you're seeing those two in a battle, you'd say Gondor's infantry will beat Mordor's 9 times out of 10. And so that's why Gondor goes above Mordor for that. And I just think also some of their polearms are some of the best around. You've got Fountain Guard are the best polearms now in the game. Changing from a pike to a polearm, these guys are a solid unit, and often see being brought to a siege battle to hold at that very last stand. And they'll do just that if given the chance. Also, I think that their spear units, Citadel Guard, again, missile block is incredibly good for defense, and Gondor will do a great job with them in their army, and again why they get added in there. And then, like I said, on the attack does come into it, and I think both those units can be used quite effectively on the offensive. Certainly the polearms, again, if you have to break through a choke point, who else do you want but the best polearms around in the game, the Fountain Guard? And I think they do a really good job. On defense, if we go back to that quickly, you get the Trebuchet as well as a unit to like mount on your walls. Is now exclusive for Gondor, and the Trebuchet can wipe out a lot of very important siege equipment very quickly, including artillery or siege towers or rams. It can take them out very quickly and limit what the attackers can do against you. So again, why I think Gondor gets into this top 4. I think they have like really excellent infantry units. They have also got artillery, which is just amazing and can hit a lot of different things, and has incredible range. Keeping your enemies at bay if you want to, away from your walls. Their bows are also really good. I mean, you've got Arthurian bowmen, Arthurian rangers, which are some of the best around. If they can be used correctly, they can get some huge kills, and are pretty good in melee. So they act as a sort of a hybrid unit, and can do very well against regular infantry as well, which is amazing. So yeah, Gondor comes in at number 4 for me. At number 3, we have Lotharorian. So, Lotharorian makes it into the top 3. It is the newest addition to the Dawnless Days mod. It got added in the most recent update, and it is a great faction. I could have put any of the Elven factions really in here, but I did choose with Lotharorian because I think they have just the most well-rounded roster of any of the Elven factions at the moment. Not to say that any of the other ones won't get any new units. They probably will do and get fleshed out when this top 5 is then outdated, but for the moment that this video is coming out, Lotharorian has the best roster around, both for attack and defense. On the attack, if we take that first, Lotharorian has solid archers which can dictate the battlefield. I mean, you've got Twilight Guard and it's Lotharorian bowmen, and they are so good. They are really good. They will do a great job, and they have excellent range, which means they can stay safe from enemy bowmen if they need to, and they can dictate the range from there. Also on the offense, they have pretty good polearms. Their spears, the Heroes of Amon Lank, have amazing melee attack, and is a very unique thing that Lotharorian has, is those Heroes of Amon Lank, which can use their spears for pushing power and try and break through, which very few of the factions can really do, is use spears, and they have incredible armor as well. I also believe that Amroth Sentinels, which are the sword unit that the Lotharorian faction can bring, are really good, great buy for your money, and they cost less than 1,000, which is very key. As a tier 3 unit, they do a very good job, and they'll break through a lot of lines, as Elven infantry usually does. Elves have smaller units, but their stats are usually much higher than the average faction. So it's why usually the elves are pretty good on any side of the siege battle. If you look at the defense as well, I mean, look at the Heroes of Amon Lank again. They have amazing blocking power. Their archers will hold any enemy at bay and can fire multiple volleys into ranks of infantry, just decimating them so quickly and changing a choke point battle in a matter of volleys. It really is impressive what they can do. Their polearms are relatively good as well. They'll hold the line, they'll do their job, and with support of other units like archers and swords and spears, they can do a great job, really. I mean, even cavalry for Lotharorian is an option if you wanted to sally out or to try and use it inside, which other Elven factions cannot use necessarily. It's not necessarily the best cavalry in the world, but it's better than other cavalry other Elven factions can really do, which is an extra plus that they can bring to the table, really. So yeah, in my opinion, Lotharorian, you see it very often being brought. I mean, even you throw in their shock infantry, it's pretty good both offense and defense. But yes, I'd say overall the best Elven faction. They make my top 3. At number 2, we have Arable. Arable, the only dwarven faction in Dawnless Days, if you do not include submods. And it's a pretty strong faction. I mean, Arable, bar lacking cavalry, which in a siege battle isn't too major, there are strategies for it, has a very infantry heavy roster, and they have very good heavy infantry. Most of their tier 2 stuff can beat, like, evil tier 3, if you put it like that. I was going to say Mordor in particular, but any evil, Dol goblins, they could beat them all. But yes, so Arable is a great faction to bring. I mean, they have very good shock infantry. They really do rely on that sort of thing, like the barrack guard. They can break through those if they want to. Their pole arms as well, both on offense and defense, at the two wardens, which are the most elite of the two options, will hold the line and have good missile, well, not good missile block, but good armor to like absorb the fire that they are going to be taking inevitably in siege battles. Also, their most underrated sort of like warriors are probably their Arable axe infantry, which are your main line infantry playing as Arable, and they will cut through rank after rank of evil orcs or men or elves or whoever they've got to take on. They will kill them all. They do a really good job. Mansion Reclaimers you can bring as elite sword infantry, and they will equally do an amazing job on breaking through. And crossbows, which is a huge thing to have in siege battles. Though they cannot arc like bows can, they can just armor pierce units. If you set them up in a choke point, if a defender decides that he's just going to stay in a choke point and he's not going to budge, you bring up your crossbows as Arable and you start pummeling away with your crossbows, and you do great damage. Even if you take a wall and you get crossbows up there, you then basically dictate the battle around the wall, and they will do an amazing job. They truly will, which is why I think they get into my top 2. Arable you see so often on offense and defense being brought, and it is a really good faction. If you need to get into close quarters and you need to break through lines, you bring Arable to the team, and they are definitely worth bringing, and that's why they make it in there for me. I think they're a really good faction. I definitely again was debating whether they should go number 1. But the reason, I have strong reasons for why I have my number 1 where it is. And at number 1, we have Isengard. This was a tough decision, but Isengard does make number 1 in the best Dawnless Days siege factions. And my reasoning for it, again, comes to attack and defense. I think Isengard is ever so slightly better on attack than it is defense. I think they have some great units, but I think the units that I'm going to mention in this description can be used very effectively again on the defense as well. I mean, Isengard's sword infantry to start off with is very strong. I mean, their Uruk-hai infantry will match most other infantry, like Gondor infantry, Erebor's axes as well. They will match them all in a combat. That is unquestionable. And then the White Hand Stormers are like the creme de la creme. They are even better. Those units, if you see them coming at you, they will chop you down. They are really good. And they are, yeah, there's nothing else to say about them. They are just amazing, those two units there. Also, their pikes. Their pikes are pretty good. They are one of the few factions now that have pikes. So they outrange polearms. So they beat things like Guard of the Teeth. And they also beat Fountain Guard, which are just amazing units in their own right. But yeah, if you have the range over them, then you just can outpike them, and you do very well. Crossbows, again, as we mentioned, they are an exceptional unit. They do very well in choke point battles, and on the defense as well. If you mount them on walls, you could say the same again for Arable, which is why it's number 2. But Isengard crossbows, Arable crossbows, mount them on a wall, gun things down, and the same on the offense. You just put them in a choke point, and they get plenty of kills shooting at units that are just standing stationary waiting. And in my opinion, they've got some very key units that make it number 1 for me, Isengard, and that is the Berserkers. We'll start with them. Their Berserkers are an incredibly good unit. They often, yes, do get focused down, you see, in battles, but they are an exceptional unit. For the start, they have unbreakable morale, and it's a tier 4 shock infantry unit. Not many of these other factions that I've mentioned, bar Arable, has tier 4 shock infantry, and shock infantry is a huge part of a Dawnless Days siege battle. They will break through just about anything that you put in their way. Spears, swords. The only thing that will really stop them is other pikes or polearms. That will be the only thing that stops them really in a melee combat. Berserkers are the first of the 3 units that I think are most key to Isengard. The second one is the Sappers. The Sappers are an amazing unit in that you don't even need to bring artillery as Isengard. You could just bring a Sapper unit and you can blow a hole in the wall like at Helm's Deep, and you can bring down the defenders with the wall that are standing on top of it, and you can make yourself a breach that swarm through your armies of Uruks. Secondly, with that unit, you can also use it in a choke point. If the defenders are defending with a pike or a polearm, you then just send up your sappers and you tell them to ignite themselves, and they blow themselves up with the unit that's in front of them. So it's an amazing way as well to clear a choke point out. And to follow that up, the best of those 3 units that is just so good at clearing choke points is the Grenadiers. The White Hand Grenadiers are an amazing unit for sieges and are such a unique unit in this mod, which is why I feel like it's justified for Isengard at the top. Isengard, with its Grenadiers, can just clear out defences and just destroy choke points. They have 3 grenades each, and it's about an 80 man unit, and so that's a lot of grenades being thrown onto a small area. And if they're in a choke point battle already with a sword unit, you just destroy the defenders for the swords to carry on. Or if you're just looking at a pike wall and you're like, well, I'll just bring my Grenadiers and I'll just blow up that pike unit, making it useless. It's an amazing unit, and it can be both used on the defense as well, can the grenades, and they can just annihilate attackers that are coming towards you. And just, even if they don't kill the unit, they just disorganize it and they break its morale, and it is devastating for a opponent. And that is why Isengard, for me, tops this top 5 rankings. If you guys do have different opinions and a different ranking sort that you would do, let me know in the comments. I would be interested to know what you guys think. I obviously have kind of just done this off the cuff. I've done a little bit of research, but you know me guys, I've played a lot of Dawnless Days. I feel like this is sort of a fairly good rankings. But if you have other opinions, do let me know. I'd be interested to know what you guys think, and do let me know what I should do another top 5 rankings on next if you have any ideas. I've got a few ideas that I'm going to try and do over the next few weeks and try and change up the Dawnless Days content. But yes, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.